Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hong Kong Wine and Dine Festival 2020 online masterclasses, wine and spirits talks organized by Hong Kong Tourism Board. Many people love to drink champagne on special occasion or celebration. Today, we especially invited a wine expert to share with us about the art of bubbles, new directions in champagne. Let's welcome Sarah, our Master of Wine today.
Hello everybody, delighted to be here with you. Really excited to dig into champagne as a wine. I think a lot of us think of it as a luxury beverage, but it's really a wine.
Welcome, Sarah. It's great to have you here. Of course, we should say hello to our online friends. Hello, everyone. Let's say hi to everyone.
Hello.
Hi. It's such a great party today. I think we're going to all have a great time. So how about we start with a warm-up questions. What's your impression of champagne? Who would like to share with us? Raise your hand. Let us know. What's your impression of champagne or what you like about champagne? How about Oh, I see Emma raising her hand. Emma, would you like to share with us?
Usually we would pop a champagne to celebrate some events, happy occasions. Right?
Do you open
and
champagne?
I think it's also good for pairing with food or just drink at ease at home.
Right. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for your sharing. Right. I think a lot of people open a champagne for celebration.
Absolutely.
Like
I'm delighted to hear you say that you enjoy it for food matching, because I find personally that champagne is the most versatile food match, especially with all the variations in style that you have now. You can drink champagne from your aperitif all the way to the final course, even with dessert if you want to.
Right.
So it's exciting time.
Yes, great sharing. Thank you, Emma. And if any of you have any questions during the section, please feel free to raise your hands. And for our viewers online right now, you could type up your questions on checkbox and let us know, and Sarah will try to answer them as many as possible. So today, our theme for the masterclass is the art of bubbles, new directions in champagne. So without further ado, let me pass the time to Sarah and let her introduce the tasting kit to us.
Yeah, so we decided to pick 3 diverse styles of champagne to really demonstrate the range of styles that's being produced now. So we have the Vazaire Coquard, the Blanc de Blanc, Reserve, Grand Cru, in fact, and the Trappier Carte d'Or, that's sort of like a Blanc de Noir, and then finally the Vintage Rosé from Louis Roederer. And along with that, I included 2 glasses from my collection, my collaborative collection with Lucaris, called the Elements. These are the gold glasses that are specially designed for sparkling wine.
Wonderful. And this tasting kit, you could still buy them, and they are $800. And you could go online to our official website, masterclasses.discoverhongkong.com. So buy them now if you haven't, and while they're in stock. So make sure you do it now. So Sarah, first, I would like to ask you, what makes champagne so different from other sparkling wines?
Well, remember the distinction, first of all, that I think you point out just by your vocabulary is that champagne is only from Champagne, right? Sparkling wines produced elsewhere, even if they're made with the same method, the méthode champenoise, which has to be called the traditional method elsewhere. Champagne is a sparkling wine made with a special method that we'll get into later, uniquely from the Champagne region. Now, the Champagne region is distinguished both by history, because it is somewhere associated with French royalty. In 496 AD, it was where the first ever King of France was crowned, Clovis, and in fact, champagne wine back then was used to celebrate that occasion, and ever since then, it's been closely associated with celebration, right? We use champagne to christen a ship when it's about to make its maiden voyage. We use champagne to celebrate at Formula One, weddings, anniversaries. No occasion is complete without champagne. It's made in a region that's distinguished by being the northernmost in France, so it's very cool there. The chalk soils, which I think we saw earlier in the video, really help hold moisture and create the right sort of hydric stress on the vines so that you get the right level of concentration. And then finally, it has these hilly slopes so that you get very unique vineyards with different angles to the sun, which is important at this northern latitude. Now the winemaking, which you will have just seen in the video as well, points out how this wine is made. It's made from a still wine to which you add in one bottle the yeast and the sugar that help create, first of all, the carbon dioxide bubbles, but also that wonderful toasty flavor, right, through this process called autolysis. And what you saw happening before in those racks, those wooden racks called pupitres, is what has to be done to remove the yeast from the bottle, right? So what happens is after you've finished the fermentation, you'll find that the yeast all settle on the side of the bottle, and gradually they have to be turned up like this in order to create a solid plug that's then frozen and released from the bottle so that you have this perfectly clear sparkling wine with beautiful fine bubbles.
Yes, it's very interesting to know more background of it. Thank you, Sarah. And actually, the next question is always in my mind. What is the best way to open a bottle of champagne? I don't know if a lot of our online friends know how to open the champagne, but let me ask the expert here. Sarah, what's the best way?
Well, I saw a handful of you opening your bottles earlier. I saw one of the corks flying off. So we're going to make sure and practice later to make sure that we're being a little bit more safe in our practices. But one traditional and kind of fun way, I did bring along a champagne saver today. Now, it's important to point out with this, you want to be using the straight side if any of you want to go out and buy one of these swords.
Have you seen it before? Have any one of you? No? Okay, this is the show, Sarah's show right now.
Well, so just to reassure all of you at home, we're not actually going to be doing this because it is a rather dangerous thing to do. But it takes advantage of the fact that you have a lot of pressure in a bottle of champagne. In a normal size bottle of champagne, not in these half bottles, the pressure is about 3 times the pressure that you have in a truck tire. It's a very high pressure. And you use just the hit of the blade against the lip of the bottle is enough to knock the lip off of the bottle and separate it. So much so that the glass flies outward, so you don't have to worry about any glass getting into your bottle. So what I would do if I were doing this, I would look for the seam on the bottle. I would also make sure to loosen the cage and tie a ribbon from the cage to the handle of my sword so that the cork doesn't go flying. My husband actually did this at our wedding, and the cork flew out into the audience and my grandmother caught it. It was very scary. She forgave him. It was fine. But what you would do normally, if I were doing this, you want to be very, very careful that your thumb is out of the way. You slide along the seam. You'd hit the lip of the bottle. 1, 2, 3. Follow through like a backhand in tennis. And again, it'll be tied to the handle of your sword so that it doesn't go flying.
So this looks really cool, but just a warm reminder, if you do want to try it at home, please be careful. But we also have a safer way, I believe, to open one.
Exactly. So a much safer way of doing this. We'll go through step by step.
So how about all of our online friends? Have your first bottle ready, and I believe you have a towel with you. So let's do it together. Sarah will walk us through and show us how to open a champagne safely.
Absolutely. Always good to have your glass on hand so that if it does fizz over, you can capture as much of it as possible. So the first thing is you want to always remember to keep a hand on top of the cork, even before, I do it even before I loosen the cage, just to start the habit. So you remove the foil like this.
So I see some of our friends are doing it right now, carefully.
Yeah. You want to keep your thumb on top. Then take this, loosen the cage.
Okay.
Okay. Now, from this point on, it's like you have a loaded gun. So don't point it at anybody unless you really don't like them. And certainly don't point it at yourself.
Right.
Now, this is the point at which it's often can be helpful to put the napkin on top so that if it does fizz over, you have something to trap it, and it's more likely to catch the cork if it does go shooting off.
I see that Mona is still trying to release that cord.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then
We'll
yeah,
wait for you.
just have the towel ready. Sarah will wait for you.
Yep. All good?
So I
Okay.
think most of them are pretty ready.
Okay. So now the important thing is to try and tilt it, again, away from yourself, but at a sort of angle like this, because that reduces the pressure on the cork. Because we don't want to have a huge pop. Remember, we just want a little sigh. So you
Okay.
hold tightly onto the cork and you turn the bottle, not the cork.
So once you try, it will pop, right?
Yeah. It's
So are you
gonna
guys all ready? Let's
Everybody
try to
ready
do
for
it.
their pop?
Let's do it together and
Let's
see if we can hear
coordinate.
the pop together. One.
Okay.
Well, someone already popped it up.
Oh.
1, 2, 3.
There we go.
I hear that pop.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so we do have a little bit of foam here, but luckily I had my napkin on hand and my glass.
Yes, but this is actually, well, this is probably the safest way, but not the happiest way, because I see a lot of people shaking the champagne and, you know, they do it, they just pop it out.
Absolutely.
Just anywhere.
Yeah, the champagne shower is a bit of a thing that you see at clubs, and I understand it's fun, but remember you're wasting this beautiful wine. So if you're gonna do that, maybe don't pick a wine that you're that excited about drinking.
If you
Don't
want
pick
a
the one
competition, right? Or
Yeah,
if you-
exactly. Maybe if you won Formula One, but no other excuse.
Right. So with our bottle being open, while they're already trying it, actually, with the bottle being open, what's the best way to serve the champagne? That's my next question.
Well, so we have a couple of different glassware options. Obviously, you all have the flute that came in the kit. The more traditional glass is this coupe that they say was designed based on the chest of Marie Antoinette. Obviously, the advantage of this one relative to the coupe is that you can see these beautiful strings of bubbles, like a chain of pearls, or a strand of pearls, excuse me. Whereas you see that if you serve it in the coupe, you're losing all of your bubbles
And this is
right
actually
away.
the normal, I mean, this is what we used to see at a lot of parties, right? With this kind of glass.
Yeah, it's associated with the Roaring Twenties and these champagne towers where people would pour from the top and it would flow downwards. But really, as you can see, you're wasting your bubbles very quickly, and there's not really enough narrowing at the top so that you actually capture that you don't capture the delicate aromas of champagne. These days, a lot of people are choosing to use a tulip glass, actually, because a lot of our champagnes these days are more full flavored. You really find that people are treating them a little bit more like white wines.
Right. They want to have more smell, like the nose of it, right?
Exactly. You have a broader surface area here for the release of aromas. You can actually also use this to give it a swirl, if you like. So you don't have this same string of pearls of bubbles, but you do get quite a bit of aroma from a glass like this.
Yeah, so we know that the glass does make a lot of difference for the champagne. So I want to do a little experiment with our online friends. I know that you're all having a good time enjoying the champagne. I believe you have prepared a water glass with you. Is that right? I want you to try something, because since you already have a beautiful champagne glass with you and you're already having a great time, but let's break out your water glass and try to pour a little bit. I know you don't want to waste it, but just pour a little bit in it and try to smell with a different glass and see if you get the same aroma, if you get the same taste. So yeah, just try to smell together. I want to try a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna pour a little bit.
So I think this glass really points out the importance of having a high quality glassware, right? Because this doesn't narrow at all towards the rim. In fact, it flares outward. And so you're really not getting a lot of aroma
It's not
from a glass
as
like
focused,
this.
I think.
No, exactly. You're not getting very much aroma. And then on the lip, it's such a thick lip versus if you look at this glass, it's extremely fine. This is hand blown. And so it primes the palate to expect something delicate and light versus this that just makes it taste a bit clumsy.
Do you see Mona is using a bowl instead? It's a good try. I mean, actually you could try with different glass, different bowls, and just try the differences, and it's great to know. And this is exactly to show you that, you know, different glass could, you know, totally change the taste or the aroma. And I know that Sarah has actually designed some beautiful glasses. Let's take a look at the video.
Thank you, Elaine. Yes, so together with my partners, Lucaris Crystal, we developed a range of glassware. They're hand blown so that we could create really unique shapes. So this video is just showing you a couple of the features of the glasses. So yeah, there's one, that one is the air with the extra wide bowl. Here we have the earth that has a rounded lip. All of this is aimed at drawing particular features out of the wine. The idea behind the collection, there you can see the hand blowers. So the idea behind the collection is actually what's more important than finding the perfect glass for each wine is finding the perfect glass for you, right? Everybody has different preferences in wine. Some people like really fresh and delicate wine. Some people like really powerful, intense wine. So all of the glasses, except for the gold, which really is specially meant for sparkling wine or sweet wine, the other four are all multi-purpose. So you could serve your champagne in any one of these. And in fact, at home, I often use this one, the air. And the idea is they're named after the elements because they bring those characteristics out of the wine. So this one is gold, this is water, makes the wine taste fresher and more delicate. Air really brings out the fragrance. Fire makes it more powerful and bold. And earth makes it round and smooth. So different aspects. I think really people are becoming much more open these days to experimenting with glassware, even when it comes to champagne. Although I know that particularly in hospitality, people are still tied to the idea that a champagne glass should be tall and narrow.
And we have this exactly in our tasting kit. So for our friends online, you are actually using a very nice glass to enjoying your champagne. And I think the next thing that a lot of people would pay attention to is the temperature of the champagne. Not like they would ask, oh, are they cold enough? Is the temperature right? So tell us, Sarah, what's the best temperature for the champagne?
Well, so typically for champagne, you want it to be a little bit colder than other white wines, so 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. Roughly, but you don't want it to be too cold. I get especially terrified when I see people putting champagne in the freezer, because that's extremely dangerous, never do that. But even keeping it in a normal fridge, it's too cold. And another thing you want to avoid doing is chilling down your champagne glasses before you serve the champagne, because that can actually damage the bubble formation. You end up with fewer bubbles than you would otherwise.
So this is some great tips to remember. So next I want to ask Sarah is what are some of the different styles of champagne?
So there are a lot of different ways about thinking of style in champagne. So I think a lot of people are aware of non-vintage versus vintage, just fairly self-explanatory, right? Very blended between years versus 1 year's harvest. But
yes.
Then the difference that we're going to be focusing on more today is about grape varieties. I think you know there are 3 key grape varieties in champagne.
Right, so with all of our champagne lovers here, maybe they're experts as well. How about we throw out questions for them, Sarah, about grapes, perhaps?
Yeah, does anybody want to name the 3 key grape varieties in champagne? We can play a little video for you while you're guessing.
Yes, take a look and see if you could get some idea for the answer.
So, go ahead. We have, you'll notice, 2 dark-skinned grape varieties and 1 light-skinned grape variety. Does anybody want to take a guess what the light-skinned grape variety is?
Raise your hand and let us know. What other key grapes that made up of? Oh, Frank, I see you raise your hand. Can you unmute yourself so we can hear you? I think he's very confident with his answer.
Is it Chardonnay?
You are absolutely right, yes. Yes, Chardonnay is our key white grape variety in Champagne. And I won't push any of you to know that one of the 2 reds is called Pinot Meunier. That's a little bit unusual. It's not really found broadly in other regions. But does anybody want to guess what the other dark-skinned grape variety is in Champagne?
Oh, Luna is raising her hand. You have a question or you want to tell us the other grapes? Luna?
You know what?
Pinot Noir, that's right. Fantastic.
Good job.
It seems like we're quite familiar with Champagne here. I'm glad to hear this.
Yes, good answers.
So to get right into the tasting, because I see that a number of you have started drinking already.
Yes.
The first wine that we have is Vazard-Coquard Blanc de Blanc. As I mentioned, it's a white wine made only from white grapes. And so in this case, Chardonnay.
So it is made of 100% of Chardonnay.
Indeed.
And they have been enjoying it for a long time, actually. Do you guys like it? Tell us about your thoughts. Who liked this? Yes? All thumbs up? Okay, I'm gonna try it now because I haven't. Okay. Okay.
So what Chardonnay brings to the blend generally is fresh acidity. It's generally the grape that is slowest to age in Champagne. So it provides the longevity. And it gives us more of these citrus fruits, maybe green apple, some floral notes, and that sort of elusive, quote, mineral character that people are looking for. In white wines, you often get that from the Chardonnay in Champagne. This one is actually fairly mature, so you'll notice that it's quite a golden color. But younger Blanc de Blanc will often be very pale, maybe even slightly greenish in color. What you won't ever find in a Blanc de Blanc Champagne is that coppery hint that you get from the dark-skinned grapes. So to get started with tasting, as I pointed out, you have this color, quite golden, reassuring to see.
I like the aroma.
Aromatically, you're very much in those clean citrus fruit, maybe shading into a Yellowstone fruit, but still very clean. Nice fine toastiness. I like to think you're always going to find toastiness in Champagne because of the contact with the lees that we talked about, but I like to think about different baked goods for different Champagnes. So for Blanc de Blanc, I tend to think that there's kind of a white, maybe a white cracker character, white mealy character, not generally that sort of dark toast.
And because I know Sarah has some art background, I know you have some special things to show our audience, and related to art, of course, and the Champagne. Let's show us.
Thank you, Elaine. So the pun behind the name here, the art of bubbles, relates to the fact that before I ever started studying wine, before I even thought about being a master of wine, I was studying painting. And a few years ago, I found a way to combine my two loves and decided to try and use imagery to talk about wine tasting instead of words. I find that often the abstraction that you get from imagery can be more communicative than using words, where it can begin to get a little bit repetitive. The way that this works here, the dark outline is giving you an idea of the shape of the wine. So it's quite pointed to begin with, gains a bit of weight on the mid palate, and then becomes sharper at the end. And you see all of these sort of yellow and green taste elements.
Right.
But I think we need to keep moving along.
Right, and then that's a beautiful art piece and your way of showing your love for Champagne and art as well. So now let's move on to our second Champagne. I think they're all having a great time with the first one, and the second one, let's try it and see if you like this one as well. This is slightly different, right?
Thank you. Yeah, so this is the Drapier Carte d'Or. So unfortunately, the story behind it, we couldn't find a Blanc de Noir in half bottles. We wanted to stick to half bottles, but I found one that really embraces the style of Blanc de Noir. It's very high in Pinot Noir, a little bit of Meunier, a little bit of Chardonnay as well, but this is really a very Pinot heavy Champagne. And I think the best way to understand this wine is really by comparing it with the Blanc de Blanc.
So all of our online friends, so try to taste the second one. This second Champagne, you could try to compare them, the aroma, the taste, and the color, and let us know if you like the first one better or the second one. So let's try to smell it and taste it first. Actually, the color is quite different, you could tell.
It is.
So I saw Cardi you guys have already tried the second one, right? Which one do you like better, the first one or second one? Okay, if you like the first one, can you, oh, okay, Kari, which one do you like better?
Because when I smelled it, the aroma just came to me.
Right.
Yeah. And for this one, it's a kind of very subtle.
So it's quite different, huh? It's quite different.
Yeah, quite different.
Okay, thank you, Cardi. So I think a lot of people, how many of you like the first one better? Can you raise your hand or give us a thumb up? Okay, we got 4, 5 people who like the first one better, 6. Okay, so the rest of you like the second one. Kimmy, do you like the first one better? I think you raised your hand. Could you tell us your thought?
Right. I like the first one better. I think it's exactly what Cardi mentioned. I think there's more aroma. There's a lot of more complex, I guess. That's what I smell and also taste it.
Right. Thank you, Kimmy. I hope you're enjoying. It's quite different, and it's great that we have this tasting together. So how about we take a look at your art piece for the second one? It's beautiful that you combine these two together.
Thank you, Elaine. So, I mean, I think the key difference that I think you can observe right away, where you have a really golden yellow color for the first one, for the Blanc de Blanc. For the second one, I think it's pretty clear, at least for me here in the studio, that sort of coppery hint to the color, and that really comes from the high content of Pinot Noir. The other thing that the Pinot Noir is giving it is this more stone fruit, reddish toned fruit quality that you get on the mouth, and then this rounded body, much less acidity actually than the first one, where you really, I think, are getting a lot of salivation after the first one, because remember, acidity makes our mouth water. In the second one, I'm feeling a much more gentle acidity and rounder body. And then you're also starting to get these kind of earthy mushroom notes at the very end, on the back palate. I think it's very, very characteristic of a Pinot Noir heavy champagne.
And to be honest, I want to bring that art piece home. It's really beautiful. Well, after this, I think we should go on our third one with the rosé. Maybe some of our ladies friends, you guys are all looking forward to the third one, which is the rosé, right? How many of you like rosé? Do you guys like rosé? Oh, okay. I see James raising his hand, and same as Michelle. Yes, usually ladies like rosé, right? So Sarah, let's introduce the third one to us. This rosé is beautiful, right?
Thank you. Let me just pour it for you, Elaine. I think you probably need to tip out. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me pour this for you. So this is from Louis Roederer, who is a very large producer, but actually increasingly acting like a grower. And in fact, all of their vintage wines are made 100% from their estate-grown fruit. Now this rosé, it's a vintage wine, again, so it's all made from one harvest, and it's made by blending. I think everywhere else in the world, when you make a quality rosé wine, it needs to be done by macerating the juice from the grapes with the skins for a short time. But in Champagne, it's legal to make a quality rosé by blending together red and white wine, which I think people find quite surprising. But it allows people to create a very standardized color blend. So we're just going to demonstrate here what the base wine for a rosé champagne might look like. Obviously, it wouldn't involve these specific wines.
Right, but we're just doing a little experiment.
Just doing a little demo.
Yes.
So you would do the blending, very tiny little bit, beforehand. Wow, a little bit too dark already. As you can see, it's the tiniest bit of red wine is added. Then you have this stable base color, this base still wine rather. Put it into the bottles, and then add your yeast to put the bubbles in, to generate the CO2 bubbles. So just as a reminder that rosé can be made by blending red and white wine in champagne.
That's interesting to know. And let's ask our friends online and see if you like the rosé, the third one. Well, I remember Michelle was raising her hand that she likes rosé, right? Do you like this one? Do you like this one, Michelle? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, sorry. Or any of you, if you like rosé you would like to share with us? Hi, Michelle.
I like it. I like it very much. It has a fruity taste to it, but it's very light and lovely.
Yes, I really like the taste of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really perfect encapsulation of it, and I think you'll see from the art piece as it comes up that that's exactly what we found here. Because it's a rosé that's made mainly from Pinot Noir, but with a good percentage of Chardonnay to really give that fineness and delicacy. If we can just have the art piece up on the screen.
Let's take a look at the art piece for the third one.
Yeah, so you'll notice that compared to the Blanc de Noir that we had before that was quite wide through the bottom, reflecting that softer acidity and fuller body, this is what I think of as a lens shape. So, you know, quite crisp on the opening and on the close, but nice, round, smooth through the middle, but fairly narrow, right? I think being kept brighter by the Chardonnay, and then you have all of these lovely red and pink aromas, right? So strawberries, pink currants, pink florals. I think it is exactly what Michelle said, that lovely fruity quality, but also the polish and the finesse.
Thank you for sharing your artwork with us. And while we're enjoying all these three champagne, let's talk about the trend. What are the new trends in champagne, Sarah?
Thanks, Elaine. So as I think you'll see from the kit that we've chosen, people used to think of champagne entirely as brand-driven, right? We didn't really think about distinctive styles of champagne, except that we knew that, you know, Krug tastes a certain way, Veuve Clicquot tastes another way, but we didn't think about the actual wine aspects of champagne, which grape varieties it's made from, which part of Champagne it's made from, right? Is it from the Côte Blanc, where it's mainly Chardonnay grapes and this chalky soils? Is it the Montagne de Reims with Pinot Noir and more of a full-bodied style, or the Vallée de la Marne, which is more on heavier clay soils and can have more Pinot Meunier? So a lot of different stylistic diversity starting to show up. Then, because of climate change, you are seeing very early harvests, like this year was extraordinarily early. But as a result, you have these riper styles of wine, and where in the past people needed to add quite a lot of sugar at the end. So after these yeasts have been expelled from the bottle, you add the dosage. People were typically adding, say, 11, 12 grams per liter of sugar. These days, you're seeing more and more move to drier styles. Like zero dosage wines even, where there's no sugar added, which is great if you're on a diet.
Right, definitely.
And then finally, there is this move towards grower champagne. So like Vazard Coquard are a grower. I said even Louis Roederer, a very big famous house, starting to behave more like growers. So these are people who, and I think we have a video to go with this, these are people who are growing the grapes, making the wine themselves, bottling it and marketing it under their own brand. So that is what a grower is in champagne.
Right. So we see that there is a lot of new way of enjoying the champagne, and people people appreciate the champagne differently nowadays, and they have different taste buds, you know, they have different preferences, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think this stylistic diversity is helping people pair champagne with food more effectively as well. Like rosé is really, especially vintage rosé, being seen as a great match option for spice-driven food. Not so much chili spice, but spices, exotic spices, things like cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg. All of those type of aromas go really well, typically with rosé champagnes. Blanc de Blanc, as well as being an aperitif style, goes really well with delicately cooked or raw seafood. And then Blanc de Noir, I find to be the best choice for pairing with meat and things that people think of as unusual pairings for champagne.
So for our online viewers who haven't had the chance to buy the tasting kits, once again, a warm reminder that they're $800 and you could buy them on the official website, masterclasses.discoverhongkong.com. So act now. And now I think we should pass the time to our online audience and see if you have any questions for Sarah. And if you do, raise your hand, let us know, and Sarah will try to answer them for you. How about let's pass the time to our online friends. How about Sang? Sang, you have a question for Sarah? Are you getting a little tipsy now? Hi. Hi. Do you have any comment about the champagne today?
I like this one, the second one.
Yes.
I want to know what is the best pairing for this wine.
Well, so as I was just saying, I find that Blanc de Noir has the body, the heft, really to go with meat dishes that people don't really think of as traditional for champagne to go with. So like lamb, beef even, made in sort of a stew or roasted with mushrooms. All of these kind of fall flavors go really well with this Pinot Noir based champagne.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Sang, for your question. So how about one more from our online friends? Okay, Cardi. See that Cardi's raising her hand. Okay, what's your question?
I really like the first one. So what food does it go well with?
The first one?
Well, so to me, this is a Blanc de Blanc, but it's a very rich, toasty, yeasty style of Blanc de Blanc. And so I would be looking at something that has a little bit of this nuttiness as well. So I really like Blanc de Blanc with fried foods like tempura or even fish and chips. It's one of my favorite pairings.
That's a great try. Next time try that with the fried food, right? How about we go, Frank, you have a question too, and we'll go to James in a second. Hi, Frank.
Hi, it's for kind of, I guess, in my opinion, everybody. Can you just give us a quick breakdown of the difference between when you see brut and extra brut?
Yeah, so brut both of these are categories of sweetness. So brut is 12 grams per liter or lower, and extra brut is 6 grams per liter or lower. As I said, as the climate is getting warmer, you're seeing more people go towards extra brut in order to, because there isn't as much acidity that needs balancing out. And I think you're getting more of the vinous or the wine-like qualities of champagne and less of the sugar.
Thank you, Frank, for your questions. Let's go quickly to James. Hi, James.
Hi. Sorry, it's another pairing question, but we found that champagne goes very well with certain Chinese foods. So jiaozi, for example, we tend to have it when we have Beijing dumplings. So I was just wondering if there's any comment about other Chinese foods that go well with champagne.
Well, I
find cuts through the acidity. The acidity cuts through the quite tight flavors, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, the acidity of champagne as well as the sugar level in those that still have a bit more sugar make it incredibly versatile for matching with food. So I even find that with certain Cantonese dishes where the sauce would otherwise be too sweet for a lot of wines. So like if you have roast goose and you have the plum sauce, that can often be quite challenging because of the sweetness. But actually I find that champagne, as long as it has enough sugar, will work nicely with that. And the crunchy skin with champagne it's a gorgeous pairing.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, James. Let's go to the checkbox quickly. There's one question that I would like to ask Sarah. How can I make champagne last longer after we have opened it?
Well, so unfortunately, the moment you pop the cork, you've already released some of the bubbles, right? So it's not going to be as effervescent as it once was. But actually, I often find that champagne, you get a lot of the aromas coming through if you keep it under a stopper with a hinge, a clamp that'll keep it down for one day in the fridge. You often get a bit of evolution. Just be very careful when you're unclamping it the next day, because it's a bit like when you uncork it the first time. Make sure you have a hand over it at all times.
Right, thank you, Sarah. I know the time is limited and we have so much more questions, but I hope every one of you are having a great time. So let's end our party with a toast and a selfie, and I hope everyone is having a great time. So I'm gonna bring out my phone, and you guys can have your glasses ready. I'm gonna do a selfie with everyone. Okay, make sure Sarah's in the camera. Okay, let's do a cheer together, a toast together. Are you all ready? 1, 2, 3, cheers!
Cheers!
Have have taken like 10 pictures already. Thank you so much for your participations. Hope you had a great time. So tonight at 8 p.m. we have another guest speaker, Ms. Bernice Liu, who will join our masterclass, and the theme is perfect pairing from winemaker to wine maven. So for those of you who have purchased the tasting kits, stay tuned for that. So once again, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you had a great time. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye. 香港美酒佳肴巡禮網上大師班美酒佳話，今個星期將會呈現唯美盛宴同清新星期天。利酒師 Jamie 將會同大家介紹日本清酒界新寵兒雪女神。葡萄酒大師 Sarah 會發掘你最喜愛嘅香檳同氣泡背後嘅釀造過程。從演員到釀酒師，再成為葡萄酒專家，廖碧兒會同大家細味佢出品嘅美酒。想喺屋企調配一杯完美嘅 tonic cano， 原來好簡單。兩位嚟自本地品牌氈酒嘅型男會親身示範。新加坡品牌氈酒創始人同香港品酒雜誌總編輯越洋交流氈酒品味。更會即席創作自潮嘅雞尾酒，大家仲可以同呢班大師即場品酒，即時互動。一個網睇晒直播同點播，完全免費。Cheers！